I know many of us are mourning Twitter. Actually, we're mourning the loss mentally of what we thought Elon was. And he possibly still could be. We have no idea. But we're going to look at that interview with him and his new CEO that worked for the World Economic Forum and NBC. Maybe we'll get some insights. Maybe we won't. But we know Elon likes women. Maybe this one's pregnant too. I have no idea.
I'm a friend. I thought X was coming out.
So I thought that was, I was looking to see if he was going to have his man mentality. And what we do see, it's very quick. He's looking at her in the eye.
I thought X.
And then he gives her a nice scan. But again, Elon likes women.
X was coming out.
I
had some extra questions for him.
I think, he had changed his mind.
And she's kind of flirty. I'm sure she knows how to use her feminine wiles.
It's widely known that in the morning, you run SpaceX. In the afternoon, you head to Tesla. And in the evening, it's Twitter time. And many of you in this room know me, and you know I pride myself on my work ethic. But buddy, I met my match. Yeah. So we're here today to actually talk about your night job.
Great, sounds good.
But with Twitter, you've switched roles a little bit. Your other companies, you move from inventor now to reinventor. And when you're inventing something, it's all new. It's a surprise. We don't know what to expect. To reinventor, you challenge legacy. You challenge habits. With Twitter, many of us in this room, we might even go to bed with it in our pocket on the night table. You challenge rituals. And every marketing executive in this room knows the difficulty of a new formula and the challenge of the delicate balance of a rebrand. And now that's what we're going to talk about today.
You know, in listening to her speak, she seems quite knowledgeable on basically how the human psychology works when it comes to advertising. She's not reading cue cards. This is coming from her brain. It was like, if your goal is to sit there and increase advertising on your platform, this may not have been a bad idea to bring her on. She seems to be intelligent when it comes to that particular goal of what you want. But hopefully she doesn't pull a Bud Light or a Miller Light. I guess only time will tell for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make Twitter fun and interesting and informative. You know, the optimization for Twitter is maximize the unregretted user time. So, it's not like total number of users or anything. It's just total user minutes unregretted, and we actually hit an all-time high just yesterday. So it's going well. It's entertaining. So
I think entertaining is one way some people in the room describe Twitter today.
It is. Train wrecks arguably are entertaining.
Train wrecks happen sometime. They happen sometime if you're dedicated.
Like a train wreck.
You got to be dedicated to fixing them. But I think.
All right, so this was a really good tell. So he makes it a joke. It's like a train wreck. Train wreck. And what does she do? She brings her hand back to the table over here, starts at the back, and rubs it across, moves her fingers a little bit. It's a delicateness that she's giving when she says, you got to be dedicated to fixing it. She's pushing that comment out there to him without trying to offend him. We need to fix it. I'm going to pet it towards you. I'm going to fix it. So she's very, at least this part of the tell of the way this body language is coming out is subtle. And this is going towards the personality. She's very subtle and manipulative because when she's doing this hand movement, she's not giving him very good eye contact either. She's leaned away from him. She's pushing it forward to him very gently in a very feminine way. So manipulative in that sense, which then again, you think, after you see that, like, oh God, it's going to happen. It may be very slow. It may be very manipulative, but it is going to happen. The Elon Twitter, if she gets the control that she would like, is going back to Jack Dorsey Twitter.
I think it's important to start with your vision of Twitter 2.0.
Yeah.
You yourself wrote, I would like to die knowing that humanity has a bright future. It's actually been quite apparent in all your other businesses, from the early days of PayPal to Tesla to SpaceX to maybe you contemplating a new AI company.
Yeah.
But how does the better humanity for the future fit into your Twitter 2.0 vision?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously with the goal with Tesla is to advance sustainable energy. With SpaceX, we've got Starlink, which is providing internet to the least served in the world, and also hopefully getting humanity to Mars and back to the moon, so we have an exciting future. I mean, it's important to bear in mind, like sometimes people say, like, why waste any money on space? Like, don't we have enough problems on Earth? But you know, the thing is that, like, everyone needs a reason to be inspired. People need a reason to wake up in the morning. It can't just be about solving problems. They have to be things that really get you in the heart. I think I just killed the mic. Okay. And going to the moon last century inspired the whole world.
Yeah.
And hopefully going to Mars can do the same thing. So then, yeah, it's a great question. Why take some time away from that for Twitter? And Mike, you know, what I think is essentially, in order for civilization to advance, we've got to have freedom of speech. We've got to have a digital, yeah. So, thank you. It's a bigger deal than you'd think. And it's the kind of thing that you don't know what you're missing until you don't have it. And in a lot of places...
Now, I'm going to cut him off here. I was kind of waiting to see what her reaction is. Because we know what Elon is. We know where his mind is. What we're looking for is hers.
People don't have it. And so it's important to bear in mind that the nature of free speech is, the acid test for it is, are people you don't like allowed to say things that you don't like? Otherwise, it's not free. It can't be just things that you like, because eventually somebody's not going to like what you say, and they're going to shut you up. And that's the essence of free speech, and that's why it's the First Amendment in this country. And if we lose that, I think we lose the bedrock of democracy.
So the bedrock of democracy, I would imagine, is important to everyone in this room. And you talk about the importance of freedom of speech. Yesterday, you posted a new policy that was titled Freedom of Speech, Not Freedom of Reach. That got my attention.
Yes.
Tell us about your new policy.
Right. So freedom of speech, not reach, is important in that, you know, like if somebody has something hateful to say, it doesn't mean you should give them a megaphone. They should still be able to say it, but it needs to be not then pushed on people. So if, you know, you can go like in Times Square in New York, and you can hear people say all kinds of crazy things. That's fine, but we don't broadcast that to Earth. So if somebody wants to say something that's technically legal, but is, you know, by most definitions hateful, we're not going to promote that to people. We're not going to recommend hateful content to people. We'll put that behind a warning label saying this speech is probably something you don't want. So, and now this is something we have to be very careful that we roll out, and that it does not become...
So as I'm watching him on this part, as he's talking about it, you see the appropriate brain search. He's not looking to the audience for approval. He is giving his interviewer appropriate eye contact every once in a while, but he's not looking for their approval on this policy. And I have to say, in my own bias, I agree with him, because I sure as hell am glad that I don't see accounts that I don't follow or interact with that promote Antifa ideology or the alphabet gang's ideology. The only time I see those things is when people that I follow retweet them or want to have a comment with them.
But you know, the reporter was saying, claiming that there was all this, that he'd seen all this hate speech on Twitter, and I'd said, okay, well, can you give me a single example? And he couldn't, not even one. So then I'd say, like, okay, well, it's, you know, if your personal experience on Twitter, that's how you should judge the platform, as opposed to what is represented in sort of the traditional media. And it's important to bear in mind the traditional media is a competitor to Twitter. So they compete for your advertising dollars. They compete against Twitter for your advertising dollars. If it is possible for them to diminish Twitter and reduce the probability of advertising dollars going to Twitter, it's like basically you shouldn't take a competitor's word for it.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
doesn't.
but
It doesn't,
don't you think
I am blameless.
most news organizations,
Well, maybe a little. Okay.
most news organizations have a codependent relationship with Twitter? And I could speak on behalf of the industry, but I'll speak on behalf of my own company. We have a big partnership with your company, big distribution partnership. Are there days where I see some of your tweets and I say, I wish I could say, stop helping the situation? But should you be held to a different or a higher standard that you're the owner, but you also have the most followers, and a lot of people think you might be too provocative?
No, I think the same standard should apply to me as applies to everyone on Twitter, just as it does on positive or negative.
So what do you do?
Same for everyone. Now the thing that a lot of traditional journalists don't like is they don't like being put on the same platform as the average citizen. They don't like their voice being the same. They're pretty mad about that.
Yes, there are several news organizations who don't like your push for democratization and what they believe is the devaluing of the badges because they were differentiated. So is that just a moment
That's
in
deliberate.
time? Is that just a moment in time?
No, that's deliberate. I think it's very important to elevate citizen journalism. I think it's very important to hear the voice of the people, the actual voice of the people, not the filtered voice of the people. And let the people choose the narrative, and let the people determine the truth, and not 5 editors-in-chiefs of major publications. Do you want to know what's really going on, or do you want their opinion? You know, it's a handful of people. I think we want to know the voice of the people, the true voice of the people.
So let me kind of pull you back into what's important to the people in this room, and that's protection for their ad campaigns.
Sure.
Now, when she says this part, she doesn't give it completely her head towards the audience, but she leans over and turns her head in that direction, what's important, and then to the people in this room. We won't go too much more into this, but as we watch a little bit further.
So yesterday was a great start. Protection from any of the provocative speech that is labeled.
Protection, and she motions her body towards her audience, which is the advertisers.
Does it get better from there? What's your real North Star? Where is Twitter a couple of years from now? When I show up on Twitter, is it just a global town square where I'm talking in number of characters? Or where does it evolve to? What happens in my town square?
And you see the tapping of the cards. This is really where she wants to be as far as this question answered. It's an impatience. It's a stamping point with the motion of the cards.
Commerce?
Yeah, I mean, what I've said is that Twitter is effectively an accelerant to an idea I've had for a long time, which is, I call it sort of X, the everything app.
Yeah.
Which is to have a sort of a platform that is so useful that you find it is essential to conduct your life. So that means, like, we do obviously payments. We provide really make a good, meaningful communication privately as well as publicly. So that means we need to have a direct message system that offers voice calls, video calls, encrypted communications so that your communications are private and Twitter and others cannot spy on them, and just be incredibly useful.
So you've got a massive platform. You have a vision that is a spectrum of just daily open sourced conversation.
So he didn't really answer the question that she wanted, where she's stamping them cards. This is the answer I want. I want this answer. So she's gotten bigger with her body language. I'm going to bring up my arms. They're going to be really big and out there. My hands are up, everything. Let me break this question down a little bit more for you, Elon.
And they can conduct their lives, their business, their commerce, whatever they can do on your platform. That's a pretty big vision. But in the middle should be advertising opportunity. That sounds like a great opportunity. I can talk about my brand. I can get my customers to communicate, and then they could also buy stuff. It sounds pretty good, right?
You'll be able to buy things just directly on Twitter. One click, boom, done.
But they need to feel that there is an opportunity.
So here we go into where she's trying to corral him. That's what you see with her hand and fingers right there. She's trying to corral him into this. They need to feel, I'm sure her question is, how safe is it?
Opportunity for them to influence what you're building, that vision, what we're doing here, whether it.
And that was more of a tell to influence, and she brings it towards Elon, not out to the world, to Elon.
It's me trying to push and prod you on your tweets. For example, you've said you probably shouldn't tweet after 3 a.m.
Well, I've got myself
Probably good advice for all of us.
I've gotten myself into trouble a few times.
I'm very aware of those. So after 3 a.m., you travel all over the world. Lord knows how you handle time zones in space. Will you commit to be a little more specific and not tweet after 3 a.m.? People in this room would like to see that. It'll make them feel more confident.
I will aspire to tweet less after 3 a.m. But I mean, it is important that, I mean, if I were to say, yes, you can influence me, that would be wrong. That would be very wrong. Because that would be a diminishment of freedom of speech.
But I want to be specific about influencing. It's more of an open feedback loop for the advertising experts in this room to help develop Twitter into a place where they will be excited about investing more money, product development, ad safety, content moderation. That's what the influence is.
Yeah, I think.
All right, so she's corralling him even more, and he is gone to protecting his balls, covering his face. So we're not quite sure at this moment if he's going to stand his ground. We'll see.
It's totally cool to say that you want to have your advertising appear in certain places in Twitter and not in other places. But it is not cool to try to say what Twitter will do. And if that means losing advertising dollars, we lose it. But freedom of speech is paramount.
So he's still protecting his balls. That is not a bad thing, people. Just understand that. But he's taken his hand away from his face. He quit touching it, and he's just brought it down a little, like it's a microphone, basically. And he's giving her eye contact, and he's giving the audience eye contact. That's normal for Elon because he's not very good at it, but that's his norm. And that says to me that he is sticking with this because she's on the side of, well, the advertisers need to be able to influence, as we've seen with the body language, towards Elon. No, he's picked that up and he's pushed back. And to push back in a very public way is actually really good to see because it's the hardest of all the pushbacks to do is to do them public for fear of, the backlash, because the backlash would also be public. Kudos, though, to the advertisers or the people in the audience that gave him a clap. Yay, yeah, that's what we want. Because instead of getting backlash, he got hurrayed.
So Twitter 1.0 had a very well-populated, much-loved influence council. I think we need to change the name. Elon does not want to be influenced. But it was really a recurring feedback loop from your key stakeholders, your advertisers, where they had recurring access or would have recurring access to you. Would you commit from this stage today to reinstate that council to be named later?
Well, I don't think it should be influence council. And you have to say, I would be wary of that creating a backlash among the public.
So here he's become gated because she's now pushed another scenario. See that thing that we saw at the beginning where she just slides her hand a little bit, the manipulative that we talked about? This is a manipulation tactic. She's going to come at it now from another point of view. First, we've got the advertiser should influence. Oh, no, I'm going to push back. Then we lose him. Now she's going to go into, well, before they had influence council. He's become gated. What I gathered from this, my personal opinion, is their union, him hiring her as the CEO, is strategic as far as bringing in advertising dollars. That will be her function. Now, just because she's the new CEO doesn't mean that she gets to go changing all the rules that he implements. That might be in the contract. He's the owner. We don't know. She seems like a very smart lady. He seems like at this point he is standing his ground against her manipulations. Let's see how this rolls out.
She's just a devil woman with evil on her mind.
If you like it, please share and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
If you'd like to learn more about analysing body language, there is a video course available on Mandy's website for gold subscribers.